Good evening, friends, followers, channel members. How are we all doing this evening? This fine Tuesday evening. Oh, do you know, I had a really bad sleep last night, and I was looking forward to streaming today, and it just got a little bit too late to sort of set up a full flight and do everything that we normally do. Because usually from sort of starting to set up a stream and plan a flight and things before actually going live, it does take about probably the biggest part of an hour to get it all sorted and prepped, etc. And yeah, I didn't have time for that tonight, and then I thought, well, I still want to stream tonight. But one of the things that I do get asked quite a bit, because we have done this in the past, was just sort of a bit of a relaxed chat, chill, hangout, Q&A section, because I am very guilty of missing loads of questions when we're doing a live stream. Particularly if I've not even noticed the stream's conked out and Streamlabs has died. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, we'll come online, and yeah, I'll just chat with all you awesome folk and the in the flight sim community. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us, and yeah, ask any question you want tonight. I might not answer it depending on what it is. So welcome guys. I can see channel members popping in. Hey, Organ Aviator, Captain Q, Elliot, Vaku, Old Man's here, J-Hog is here as well. Flight Designs, better known as Dark Fury. How you doing, mate? I didn't realise you were reinstalling everything as well. I hope you got J-Hog for support, because no one knows more about reinstalling Microsoft Flight Simulator than J-Hog. Speaking of which, mate, my grass needs cutting, so if you wouldn't mind. Lemons here as well, and Angels Aviation, good evening. Nolex Dan, our favourite Boeing pilot, is also here. And Pilot Nerd over on Twitch, good evening, says on standby, so I thought I'd drop by while it lasts. Oh, I hope you managed to survive that. Organ Aviator, I should start a podcast. I haven't got time for that. But one of the first questions I actually saw before we kicked off was, well, where's it gone? Flight Simulator Plays. Sorry, how old am I? There are some questions I won't answer. But in all fairness to you, I am in my 30s. How's that? Is that close enough? Yeah, that's probably about as much info as I'm going to give. Cool Dash Deck, do I think that it will be worth it to get global shipping by Seafront Simulations? You mainly do short haul 320-737 flights. Do you know, I've got, is that the same one that Orbex do? I've got the one from Orbex. I think that's global shipping. I think that's the same one. I quite like it. I do like flying over the ocean and the Channel, the North Sea, and seeing all the ships, boats, and things like that. So it just adds that little bit of immersion, doesn't it? Yeah. Dave, is GSX worth buying? Yeah, I think so. Just for the pushback alone. I mean, when it works, it's great and integrated seamlessly with the fly-by-wire. I think it works with PMDG. I don't know. Someone in the chat will tell me. Now seamlessly works with the Phoenix as well, of course, and yeah, that's great. So I do like it. I should have said. Anyone guess where we're sat tonight? Can anyone tell? We're just watching VATS in traffic at the moment. I'll let you guys. This is an easy question. Where are we? Anyone who knows this airport will know exactly where we are. Hey, Chris Morgans. Good evening. Hassan, any news when the Phoenix Neo will be available for purchase? Well, they've still got the 319 and the 321 to bring out first, so I would imagine that's going to be a while. Yeah. Hey Reza, good to see you. And Matt has said a 777 release party. Not on this channel. Justin, can I show the hardware? Which hardware company do I recommend? I won't be able to show you, Justin, but everything of mine is Thrustmaster. So I use the Thrustmaster Captain's Pack, the A320 Captain's Pack. So I've got the side stick, I've got the thrust levers, spoilers, flaps, etc. I've got Thrustmaster TPR rudder pedals, and the only other hardware I use is the Mini FCU. So yeah, that's basically my hardware setup. Pilot Nerd, yes indeed it is. It's Edinburgh. Yeah, not Bristol. Payne. Yeah, it's not high enough up for that. Bristol was built on a hill, which is why it's always windy when coming into land. So Organ, I'm either 31, 32, 33, 34. You're correct. You are correct. VATSIM's gone down. I don't think. Well, mine hasn't. This is VATSIM traffic we're watching now. It's not. It's not what do you call it. Live traffic or FSLTL. This is VATSIM. Yeah, madness. Amsterdam. You thought this was Amsterdam? No, it's far too small. Barry, sadly not. No. Dave thought it potentially could have been Leeds Bradford. Similar. Yeah, so it is similar. Is the VATSIM sound a bit loud? Just get that down. That's the problem. We've got engines knocking about in the background. Hopefully that might just be a little bit better for you. Hope that mix is a bit better. To be fair, I turned my headphones down, so it's probably really loud for you guys and it's not loud for me. Hopefully that's okay now. What's my favourite add-on airport for Xbox other than Brussels? You see, now I'm at a disadvantage there because I don't fly on Xbox, so I might not be able to answer that. But in terms of realism, Brussels is up there. Absolutely love Brussels. Dan Nolax also just said about the engine sounds. Hopefully that's better for you guys. Pilot Nerd, the Speedbird, was just blasting into the microphone. Yeah, I know. Well, I should shut them down entirely, shouldn't I? But I like to have a little bit of airport ambience. We're being a bit guilty. We're just sat here and we're just watching everyone's landings and departures. I love the fact that well, now we've got like sort of some of the virtual airlines. What's that? Is that the Fly UK livery just pushing back? I don't think the weather tonight at Edinburgh makes for rocky landings. I think it's pretty calm conditions. Sorry, just got distracted by something. Apologies for that. Old man, the one big question, will Dark Fury ever change his name back? I have no idea. Angels, any tips on how not to over-control coming from flying the PMDG for 13 years? You know, on week 2 of Airbusing, really find yourself over-controlling at the moment to the point that you're chasing the flight directors. That's the fly-by-wire technology. So when you move the side stick sort of left and right, you only need a little input, and once you've got the aircraft doing what you want the aircraft to be doing, let go of the side stick. So if you start by moving the side stick to the left, for example, and obviously the aircraft then starts to bank, once it's banking at the rate you want it to bank, release the side stick, bring it back to the center, and the aircraft will continue to bank. It's not like a 737 where if you bring it back to the center, then the aircraft will level itself back out, which is why the Airbus I've referred to a number of times, it's kind of like it's a point and shoot. It's a point and shoot aircraft. Literally point the aircraft where you want it to go and then let go of the side stick, and it will just continue going on the trajectory that you set. Hopefully that goes some way towards explaining that. And when it comes to landing, I say highly recommend, of course I would say this, but I would highly recommend just checking out the how and when to flare tutorial video on the channel that I did, because that specifically just looks into some issues with regards to playing on the flight simulator. The difference between flight simulator and real world, of course, is on the flight simulator you've only got a 2D vision, and quite often it looks from the air like you're pointed nose down, and you're actually not. You've pitched up, so you become quite ground shy when you come to land, particularly on the simulator, because you believe your eyes are the way it's set, because you have no peripheral vision. It looks like you're pointing down, and I guarantee you're obviously not. You're actually pointed up, so you need to keep just looking down at the private flight display, and you'll see that you're banked up. So when it comes to flaring, you really don't need to flare that much at all. Kolesh, how do you see traffic on VATSIM? You really need to know that. All traffic is automatically depicted on VATSIM. If you're on about how you see the right airlines and liveries and aircraft, well, then you need those aircraft models and liveries installed into your simulator, and that is, I would say, the easiest way to do that is to download and use FSLTL traffic. It's free. You can download it via the fly-by-wire installer, but obviously that is for PC only. So you can't use that if you're on. You can't use that if you're on Xbox, I'm afraid. That is a PC only thing. Chris Morgans, welcome to Captain Level Membership. Chris, that is awesome. Thank you, mate, for that support. I really appreciate that. Chris, any plans to upgrade my system? No, not at the moment. I don't think anyone would. I don't know who. Has anyone here got plans to upgrade the system, particularly with Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 coming out in the next few months, I imagine. I'll probably wait and see how that handles things before we go any further. Ronnie says, anyone think we'll get news from PMDG tomorrow? Who knows? Joe Wilson, hello. Matt, have I ever flown in VR? You can never go back to flat screen when you have. Matt, I can honestly say I can. Not because I didn't like it, or think it was impressive. My biggest problem was, maybe it was the system I was on, but everything was blurred. Everything was very blurred. I had to lean right in very close to see the instruments, and it just didn't sit well with me. I didn't get motion sickness or anything like that, so I was fine with it. But for me, the clarity just wasn't there. So maybe in the future, not quite sure how that would work when live streaming. Anyway, that might be that might be interesting. Jazzy, what's the best way to align the Airbus to the centre of the runway? Is it rudder only? If you're talking about when you are still on the approach, then no. Use your ailerons, yeah? Roll the aircraft onto the centre line. If you're talking about decrabbing, then yes, that's when you'd use the rudder to align with the centre line of the runway. But the sort of best tip I can give you there is the rudders are just... your rudder pedals in the Airbus, they're just footrests until you get to about 30 feet. Then you want to start kicking the rudder and getting yourself lined up with the centre line. I'm just catching up with the chat, and Chris Morgan's just gifted 5 EasyJet Impact channel memberships. That's amazing, Chris. Thank you so much for your continued support there. So welcome to our new members, Chris Clarkson, Joe, Aaron, Barry, and Doctor on board as well. Welcome, guys. Courtesy of Chris Morgan's. Amazing. Thank you so much. That's really, really generous, and long-time supporter of the channel as well, Chris. So thank you for that. Stricker, you spoke about this the other day on one of the streams last week. Your MSFS was still jumping around when dialing the knobs to a point it was unusable when setting headings. It was like doing a wing wave. Stricker, I don't know what to tell you. I've not had that problem. Funnily enough, I had something similar with the Winwing FCU. All I can suggest, I mean, you might be doing this already, but all I can suggest is make sure you're using, a good quality data cable, so the data transfer for the USB is fast, and make sure that the Mini FCU software is running before Microsoft Flight Simulator. So hopefully that will help. Pilot Global, hello, I only fly one type in the sim like real pilot would. Recently got the PMDG 737 and love it. Didn't know whether I should switch to long haul or not. Thoughts? That's personal preference. We're in a simulator. You can do exactly what you want when you want, can't you? Technically, I like long haul. I just don't have time for them. I find them very satisfying, and doing a long haul on stream with you guys is even more satisfying because the chat is usually great and breaks up the sort of 6-7 hour journey. Powell, when do I think the 777 will be released? Oh, no idea. That's a question for someone in the know, and that is not me. Angel Aviation says thanks. The biggest issue at the moment is what you just said. I'll find myself pointing down, then look at the primary flight display and find that you're actually level, especially on the approach. Yeah, that's the lack of peripheral vision that you're getting. So use that primary flight display. You know, if you're pointed nose up, especially if you're doing a flaps 3 landing, you'll be really pointed nose up. So you'll need even less flare. Jasmine, why don't I have a video understanding ATC language or a runway signs video? I mean, a lot of runway signs, they're pretty self-explanatory, aren't they? You've obviously got the holding points, you've got the Cat 1 holding points, Cat 2 and 3 holding points for low visibility procedures and that. As for ATC language, I guess I don't have a specific video on that just because we use it so often on all the live streams with regards to VATSIM. And the best way to pick up on that is just listening to VATSIM, or even now if you want to listen to real world, there are apps, aren't there? Is it ATC Live or Live ATC, something along those lines anyway, that allow you to listen to air traffic control communications from across the world. Sadly, not here in the UK due to legal issues, but that's probably the best way to pick it up. And Angel says, really having to push the side stick real far forward to keep it going down and not level off. Again, we'll try and set, if you're doing a normal 3-degree descent, try and just set, obviously, look out the window. And if you're descending at around between 700 and 800 feet per minute, that is usually a good 3-degree descent rate, which you'll probably see on the charts that you're doing. So I'm just scrolling down a little bit. Alex, similar question. Always floating on landings. You've got the same peripherals. Do I have any tips? Yeah, I mean, it's the problem with the peripheral vision or lack of, isn't it? Just as we've been saying, look at the primary flight display. If you jump into your aircraft when you're landing, you'll probably see that if you look down here, you'll probably be nose up by about 5 degrees, and yet you'll be looking outside and it'll look, I think someone spawned in on top of us. Never mind. They won't be able to see me because I've set myself invisible here on VATSIM. Yeah, it'll look like you're pointing sort of nose down, but actually look down here and you'll find that you're not. And I think because you've got that visual perspective of looking nose down, you want to pull the side stick back even more, and obviously you do that, then you're going to float. Again, check out the video on the channel, which is about how and when to flare, because that looks at that exact problem that you've got. Paliner, does the Mini FCU now work natively with the Phoenix, or is it still third party? No, it's so all native. Don't need to have anything else running in the background. Just open up the FCU software and it all works. Captain Madlock, good evening to you. The Sky Dude says, hello there, I'm new here. Well, you're very welcome. I'd like to know how the Airbus reacts when I pull the altitude. The airplane puts nose down automatically. When you pull the altitude, okay, Sky Dude, I'm gonna guess you're speaking about the altitude FCU. So if you pull this when you're in the air and you've obviously got it set to an altitude lower than you, then it will start to go down hopefully to, to stop at whatever altitude you've got set. The rate at which it goes down is dependent upon what speed you've got, because if you're pulling this bug, if you're pulling that, then you're setting your descent rate based on your speed. So if your speed is high, in order to maintain high speed, it's going to go down fast. If your speed is low, then it will be a shallower rate of descent, and that's the open descent mode in the Airbus. Joe says, happy to report that my first few days on line went well. No hook losses and only one delay, so can't moan. Joe, that's a win. Yeah. Flight designs, Dark. You have the TFRP pedals, but the Phoenix always wants to snake across the runway. Either rudder is oversensitive or unresponsive. Any ideas on how to stop that? I don't actually, Dark. What pedals have you got? No, I'm not familiar with those. They're not the same ones I've got, are they? So the ones I've got, they're quite heavy duty, which does make it quite easy because they are heavy. There's a lot of resistance in them. It does make it easy to control the aircraft and keep it on the centre line. I might just have to play with the sensitivity settings and see if that works. Ancient Dino, do I fly for virtual, easy, or just do my own flights? I just do my own flights. So yeah, I don't fly for any any virtual airline. Captain America, considering Microsoft Flight Sim 24 is supposed to be released by the end of this year, do we already have any information on the airliners being released with it? Well, we know the Beluga is in it. And there was another one. I can't recall what that was. I'm going to guess that we're already going to have an A320neo in it. I would imagine we'll have all the same craft that we've got in Flight Sim 2020, just with some more. But again, we're probably going to have to wait for official confirmation on on that. Natty, does the Phoenix and Microsoft Flight Simulator, does it have a good professional situation saving like the Taurus and X-Plane? No, it doesn't. So you can't save a situation in the Phoenix aircraft. I'm not really sure there's any aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator you can save a situation for and it work well. So that sadly is something that X-Plane does better. Oh, Dan's going to clip that. I know he is. Clever Trevor, good evening, mate. James Cox, good evening to you. Reza, have you ever tried to get a... No. Jasmine, what does it mean when ATC says 9 o'clock or whatever o'clock? Okay, yeah, so that's really self-explanatory when someone's helped you with it. So if we're flying and ATC say you've got traffic at your 3 o'clock, well, that's over there. Think of your position as the centre of a clock. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 obviously behind you, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 again, straight ahead. So, yeah, easy when you know how, isn't it? But then there are no daft questions. Tony, is it best to follow the Pappies or the glide slope, as sometimes they differ? So this is an interesting question when it comes to Microsoft Flight Simulator. So speaking with, I think it was Purigi, who actually make this airport, months ago, I said that the way the simulator works and the terrain updates and things, the Pappies are usually more accurate than the glide slope. Now that's in the simulator. When it comes to real life, the closer you get to the Pappies, the less reliable they become. So by the time you're 500 feet or whatever, the Pappies are what they are. You just want to make sure the picture doesn't change. Make sure that touch landing zone, etc., isn't the touchdown zone isn't moving up or down in the window. Focus on keeping it center and accept the Pappies for what they are. Obviously, if you've got 3 reds, that's a instant go around. Same with 4 reds and 4 whites. But yeah, there's the bit of a bit of a disagreement, obviously, with the simulator pappies and the ILS. But yeah, try and look at the runway. That would be my sort of tip. And yeah, when you're starting to close in on those pappies, the closer you get, the more unreliable they become. Dean, you're flying to Nice tomorrow from Liverpool. What's the cabin baggage allowance? That's something I'd have to look up. I can't remember it. I did used to know it, but yeah, that's what Google's for. Clever Gavin, if the A320 disappeared from Maxwell Flight Simulator overnight, what would you fly? And if you tried the E-Jet yet? I've not flown the E-Jet. What would I fly? Can I say A330? Just excuse me while I have a swig of my my tea for a moment. Yeah. I mean, I quite like the A310. I really like the A310. The early Airbus. Well, that's a great question. Rezo, what rudder pedals do I have? Are they also Thrustmaster? Yep, Thrustmaster TPR rudder pedals. Flyboy John says he always struggles to keep the Phoenix on the centre line. Few people have that issue. And it's it's a lot easier if you do have rudder pedals. It just is. It's been a long time since I've done it with a side stick. I think when we get the next sim update, that is going to be interesting, because the ground friction model is meant to change. So we'll see where we are after that. Lemon, does my wife think I have too many hours in Microsoft Flight Simulator? Would it matter if she did? That's the real question. I daren't ask. That's, you know, you don't poke the bear, do you? The Sky Dude says, thanks for the answer. So that means when you pull the altitude knob, I control the nose of the aircraft with the speed. I'm a bit confused now. Okay, so let's look at it a different way. Let's say we're at 30,000 feet. And you're doing, in fact, no, let's not. Let's say we're at 10,000 feet and we're doing 250 knots. Okay. If you wound the dial down to, 5,000, okay, so you were at 10 and you're going to wind it down, you're at 10 and you're doing 250 knots. There we go. And you now wind it down to 5,000, leaving the speed at 250 knots. When you pull, then the aircraft is going to descend at whatever rate it needs to maintain 250 knots. So that means then if you slowed the aircraft down to say 230 knots, well, the aircraft then is not going to descend quite as fast, because the faster it descends, the steeper it descends, the faster the airplane goes. Yeah, gravity. So if you want to travel slower, essentially, then the nose is not going to be pointed, down to the ground. The angle of attack is not going to be as steep, because it's going to maintain 230 knots at whatever speed, at whatever VS angle, vertical descent rate, it needs to maintain that speed. And that's in open, that's what they call open descent mode, because you are controlling your rate of descent by telling the aircraft what speed to fly. So hopefully that helps. The opposite is true as well. If you wound that speed up to 270, well, then the aircraft would pitch down, because it is now going to target a faster speed. The way to speed up, well, point down and let gravity pull you down faster. So I hope that helps. Richard, good evening. In the Airbus, is there a way to set an altitude on climb? In other words, ATC have said be at flight level 200 by a certain waypoint. I know you can do it by VS. You can, Richard, but there's a danger flying to 20,000 feet using a VS rate, because your aircraft is then going to rely solely on flying using a VS rate. So if you tell your aircraft to fly at 2,500 feet per minute climbing, well, what it's not going to be able to do is maintain 2,500 feet per minute climb and maintain a safe speed. And the aircraft will prioritize your climb rate, meaning you're going to sacrifice your speed, which means pretty soon your speed's going to drop off, and then you end up in the stall prevention territory. So try not to climb in VS mode at high altitude. It's not the way to do it. However, you asked about actually putting into the flight computer how we could be at a certain altitude by a particular waypoint. So if I let me just bring in a flight plan here, see if this will help. LP, too confusing. Why can't it be simple like a Boeing? It's far more simple than a Boeing. How many buttons do you guys have on here? There's far too many. Right, so if let's say here's a flight plan and ATC said, right, that's the Dean Cross VOR DCS. If ATC said easy 34 Alpha Mike, flight B cross Dean Cross at flight level 200. So then all you'd need to do is on the right hand side line key, select this, pop an altitude constraint there of 200. And depending on if that's a climb or descent, then obviously choose which one, and then you just insert it, and it will be there. Then all you would need to do is push the altitude bug, so you go into managed climb mode, and that means you're pushing control to the aircraft, and the aircraft will target whatever it is that it's got set down here. Again, hope that makes sense. So Captain Madigan, yeah, I'm not sure what other airliners are going to be involved yet. We will have to sadly wait and see. Avenger A320, my speed was below the red dots, but I was still getting overspeed warning. I was told I'm supposed to switch to Mach and not go above Mach 0.79. Is this correct? You can do Mach 8, even Mach 8.1, depending on your altitude. Remember, so when you say your speed was below the red dots, but you're still getting an overspeed warning, it could be you might not have tidied something up. There could be, I don't know if your flaps would be out or something, but that is something that I could do with seeing a screenshot of, to be honest. Batmamba, hello. Just keep going down. Resident says Microsoft Flight Simulator announcement date is on June 2nd, you believe, at the Xbox Showcase. We shall wait and see. J-Hug, Dark and Relic are trying to nick your runners. Ian, few people have mentioned that. Anyone else trying keep having problems keeping the A320 Phoenix on the centerline during takeoff? Yeah, a few people mentioned that. Let's wait till Sim Update 15 comes out with the new ground friction model and see what's happening. Coke Zero, say I was cruising flight level 360 or whatever. How would I know if I should change that in flight, and how would I know what to request as a flight level change? Is this something that would happen often in real life? So normally you're given a flight plan, your operational flight plan, and that will give you your cruising altitude. So for example, I'll load one up here. This is an EasyJet flight plan, and there we've got a cruise flight level of 370. Now if it were too heavy, then the aircraft would tell you that you were too heavy and you couldn't fly flight level 370. It would tell you your maximum is maybe 360, for example. In which case, you're not going to climb to 370. You're not going to climb over the recommended max. Then what you would do is obviously you climb to 350. And remember, you've got to be, depending on whether you're flying east or west, as to whether you're flying odd levels or even levels. So if you're flying if your cruise planned flight level is 370 and your aircraft's telling you the recommended maximum is 360, you're not going to fly 360, you're going to fly 350 because it's an odd number. And then once you've burnt off fuel and your aircraft's become lighter during the cruise, say that maximum cruise level then reaches flight level 380, you're going to be able to reach flight level 370, which was the planned cruise level. Then yeah, you just say to ATC, easy 34 Alpha Mike, request flight level 370, and they'd say yay or nay, and you just follow the instruction and do as you need. Asia Dino, what does squawk mean? You know it's more for GA, but always wondered about IFR and VATSIM. Okay, no, squawk is absolutely not just for GA. Squawk is for all aircraft. And that is the transponder code that we have down here. Now, the standby code here in Europe, actually, it's not 7000. I think 7000 is an American code. Here in Europe, the standby code is 2000. And the code that air traffic control give you pop into your transponder, and that then enables them to see your altitude, your heading, speed, etc., all the data that they need. And it's dependent upon you popping that code into the transponder, and yeah, then they can see you on radar. I mean, transponders now are really good. So some air traffic controllers now, they can actually, with the details that they've got, they can actually see what you've got here, which is really, really interesting, because if we have a look at, and this catches loads of people out, in fact, I've known it catch out real life pilots as well. But if we have a look at London Gatwick, for example, let me just find a departure SID. 1 second. Bognor 1 X-ray departure. No, not that one. Frame 1 Zulu. Nope, not that one. Lambourne. Oh, nope, not that one. I'll show you why I'm looking for this in a minute. Right, here we go. This is the one. Okay, so a question for you guys now. You don't have to answer it, but answer it to yourselves. If you were flying this departure, if this was the departure you got, what information, what climb altitude would you set as your initial climb for your departure? Would you set 4,000 or would you set 5,000? Yeah, or would you set 6,000? Because in theory, what you could do is you could set 6,000 feet, fly the aircraft in managed climb mode, so then it would obey all constraints, and it would climb you up to no higher than 4,000. Then at Acorn you'd be up at 5,000. Then at Frayne you'd be up at 6,000, which is fine. That is the standard instrument departure. But the initial climb for this departure is 4,000 feet, and because air traffic controllers can see what you've got set here, there is the occasion where a pilot might set 6,000 feet, knowing he's going to climb the aircraft and leave it in managed climb mode, so it would obey the constraints. But the controller can see 6,000 feet on his display, and then he's going to say to the pilot, "There, just letting you know, your initial climb is 4,000, not 6,000," because they see that and they might think, well, no, that's what I want to see. I don't want you busting through my airspace and interfering with all the arrivals. So yeah, the squawk code can help give air traffic control a lot of information. It's definitely not just for GA aircraft. LB, do I have a 737 in the sim? I don't, but there is one. Let's have a look. Jasmine, what is my advice on landing with a crosswind? Practice. Definitely practice. So I've lost my place in the chat now, and I'm doing my best not to miss any questions. Organ, have you asked this on a stream before? Is flex thrust ISA plus 30 to ISA plus 55? Organ, I'd have to delve into information again. You're doing CFM, aren't you? I'm doing. I was doing Neo, and I can't recall what it was for the Neo. I'd have to go back and look through some notes somewhere. Musical fancy. Do I have a tutorial on how to deal with emergencies like engine failures? I don't think we've ever had an engine failure on stream. It could happen because I always fly with the failures turned on, so it is possible. But I don't have any specific. I don't have any specific tutorials with engine failures or anything like that. Maybe something for the future. Renlin, hi all, just had to abandon VATSIM, voice servers down and was not having fun with typing. Thought handling ATC over voice was hard enough for a newbie. Are there any rules for disconnecting? No. If you want to disconnect, just disconnect. If you've got time to drop the ATC a message, let them know you're disconnecting, that's great, but obviously sounds like VATSIM might be having some issues, although things seem to be working okay at Edinburgh tonight. Jasmine, in my opinion, what's the best private jet and why? I don't even have an opinion on that. I can't afford my own private jet, so it makes no difference. Door players, do you have a question? Why when you install some liveries, are they pixelated or pink or invisible? Yes, the livery is no longer compatible with the current version of Microsoft Flight Simulator, so the livery needs updating, as Flight Science just said as well. Joe says your standard operating procedures prevent using VS over 10,000 feet for climbs. Yeah, very safe, very safe. You can end up being in a position you don't want to be in. Jazim, in the real world, you still need to enter the flight plan, including routes and waypoints in them do, or can they import it? They can import it using ACAR's uplink, although sometimes that doesn't work, so you have to put it in manually. It's been a long time since we did that, but yeah. Richard, that was the issue, you were climbing and losing speed. Right, there you go, that's why. Don't climb in VS. Dave, in terms of cost index, does lower cost index mean lower speed? Simple answer to that is yes. Yes, it does. Lower speed, but less fuel, but more maintenance costs, because the engines are running for longer. Captain Geeb looking to do a flight. Can't figure out where to go. All depends on where you like to fly, I guess. Doors, can I do an Atlantic flight in the play colours? Iceland to America. There's loads of long haul flights I'd like to do. Sadly, I don't always get the time. Swung in the noggin. 2 questions. Does my Wingwing FCU work with the 737? I would not know that. I've not even got a 737 installed. I don't know if anyone else has ever got that working with something else. And I answer to your second question, no. Clever, if you have a maximum departure speed, say 210 knots, do you program that into the box, or would you set it manually after takeoff? Are both used in real life? Just fly the departure in selected, in managed speed, Clever, then you don't have to worry about it. There are some occasions where I would pre-select that speed. So if we were, for example, doing a flight and the departure had a maximum speed restriction of something like 180 knots and my clean speed was above that, say 200 knots, and my S speed was 181 knots, well then all I would do is, or 180 knots, sorry, all I would do is I would climb at S speed. So I would go into the next phase, I'd pre-select the S speed, and I would just fly flaps 1. And the reason for that is because it's just more fuel efficient. Save some money. Vaku, by any chance, do I know anyone from Virtual Ryanair? Because you were banned permanently. No. I mean, if you're banned, I can't see Mr. O'Leary letting you back in. Sorry, just having another quick drink before we go again. Ian, so your landing rate on the 320 Phoenix averages at 270 FPM. Is this considered a hard landing? No. No, Ian. That's perfectly acceptable. It's pretty standard. A lot of people, and I get this, and you guys have seen this whenever we've come into land and the landing rates popped up at like 300 FPM and everyone's like, oh, my back, my spine, I've just thrown my false teeth out. They are not hard landings. A hard landing is, one where maybe the load 15 report is going to print out of the printer and the landing gear is going to need to be inspected. That's sort of 600 FPM. Yeah, so you've really got to slam it in before it's considered a hard landing. Okay, above 450, 500 it might be uncomfortable, but the aircraft's going to be fine. Anywhere between 100, 300, perfect. So I'd say, Ian, you're doing pretty well. Andy from Yorkshire, great name. Rather than use sensitivity settings on your thrustmaster, I've heard that extreme dead zone settings are more relevant. Do I agree? Although you might wait for sim update 15. Andy, I would. It depends what you're flying, to be honest. But currently now I use the Phoenix recommended settings with side stick dampening on as well for my thrustmaster Airbus side stick, and that works really well. Asia Dino, no, you mean squawk conspicuity? I actually have no idea what that is. So it might be a general aviation thing because I don't know it. Skydude, what about the brake fan? When to turn it on? You can't find specific temperature. I just see that we have to wait a few minutes after landing to turn it on. Okay, yeah, so you probably don't want to turn that on until you're sort of on stand and the ground crew are clear because, well, you're going to throw up a lot of dust in the face and they might be a bit angry about that. You will know when to turn it on because you'll get an ECAM message and it'll tell you that your brakes are hot. So turn it on. Now, the interesting thing about it is, we go to the wheel page. So yeah, it'll tell you that the brakes are hot, and it might tell you you need to use your brake fans. Now, the thing with brake fans, if you've used your brake fans, then you are not allowed to depart until your temperature on here is below 150 degrees. If you've not used brake fans, then you can depart with your temperature up to 300 degrees, which is a bit weird and almost backwards in thinking. But the reason for that is just to make sure that you've got a reliable temperature indication. So, because if you think about it, if you've got a temperature sensor and you blow on it, the temperature that you get isn't accurate. So it's worth, if you can, not using your brake fans unless you really have to, because if you use your brake fans, you've got to wait then until these temperatures have cooled down all the way to 150 degrees C. If you don't use them, then you only have to wait until they're 300 degrees C before you can depart. So a little bit of brake wheel knowledge there for you. Jasmine, what if you don't enter the squawk code or you enter the wrong code? Air traffic control shout at you and tell you to reset your squawk. Skydude, also in the flight plan you see some reporting points have wins. Where do you put the wins in the McDo? You don't need to put them in. You can put them in, but it's automatic. So on the init page, go to your wins, request the wins, and just like in real life, they will be downloaded. Rezo, what is the point of step clients? How do you program them? Don't planes just have one cruise level and stick to it? So I don't use them because all I'm looking at is what my planned cruise level is, what my optimum level is, and what the recommended max is. Basically, if my planned cruise level is above the recommended max, then I'm just going to cruise at a lower altitude until I'm light enough to climb up to the planned cruise level. So yeah, that's pretty much how we do that. Jasmine, can I show you where to get the toga or flex on the McDo? Yeah, so that's in your performance page. If you don't enter anything into the flex field, then the aircraft assumes you're using a toga takeoff. In fact, if you leave this blank and set a set flex, I'm not sure if it automatically defaults to toga because you've left that blank. I would have to double check that. Is it possible in Microsoft Flight Simulator to create an engine scenario such as engine failure? Yes, it is. Yeah. Hey, Katie Pilot's here. There you go. I completely missed you entering the chat, Katie. Sorry about that. Going back to brake fans. General rule of thumb with brake fans is to wait for the temperature to stabilise after landing to avoid oxidation of the brakes. Usually about 5 minutes. There you go. Straight from the captain's mouth. But yeah, if you don't need them, then don't use them. The moment you turn them on, that might delay your departure. Colin, evening everyone. The ground handling and traction has been vastly improved on the Phoenix. It has compared to what it used to be, but I say the next sim update I think might affect that. D current crosswind landings runway 30 20 knots from 270. Do you apply left or right rudder? Okay, I'm going to make this a little bit simpler. So if imagine we've got a runway straight in front of us, okay, and we've got winds blowing from the left, well then our aircraft is getting blown over here. So to compensate for that, we're going to be pointing into the wind, aren't we? Okay, so it's going to look as though the runway is over here because we're pointed that way. Runway is over here. So then as you come into touchdown about 30 feet, you apply the right rudder to bring the nose back in line to that that center line. The more you practice that, the more intuitive it becomes. Dennis, do I know where to buy a real A320 QRH? We don't need to now, Dennis, if you've got the Phoenix, because the Phoenix have put one in. I'm not going to be able to find it now. Let's see if I can remember where it is. God, where is it? Is it in the pilot brief documents? There you go. Now we've got a QRH. And it's actually in this folder here as well, if if you want to look at it not on your tablet. You'll probably print that off and bind it, and there you are. QRH is ready to go. And I have looked through that. It's very, very similar to the real thing. What do I think about the Bermuda Triangle disappearances? What a question. Some things can't be explained. Scroll down. Doors player, how do some people get a digital display shaped T at the gate in airports like Heathrow? Stating where they are going, gate number, etc. That's GSX. That's the GSX add-on, which gives you parking gate information. Yeah. Jasmine, what am I drinking? Musical Fantasy's got it. Yorkshire tea. Absolutely. Organ, have I tried the G's2 landing monitor? No, I've not. Oh, Smug in the Noggin, you haven't got the Yorkshire tea bit in there. Perfect. In fact, just excuse me while I take another swig of that. I'm loving the colours of the sunset here in Edinburgh. Looks beautiful. Right. Bobby says when ATC is 250 knots until 4 DME, is that? I hope they don't. If they said that to me, I'd be telling them to go off, or words to that effect. So when ATC say usually 160 60 knots till 4 DME. Is that from your current position or 4 DME from the runway? That's 4 DME from the runway, which you'll find if you turn on the instrument landing system. So it'd be down there, wouldn't it? I don't think that's going to show. Yeah, so down here, you've usually it might not have a DME. Not all ILSs have a DME, but most of them nowadays do. Jasmine, is the FPM recorded anywhere in the McDo? What you mean, the touchdown rate? No, it's not. But the engineers can look at it afterwards if they need to. Mike, is the Phoenix worth buying over the fly-by-wire Airbus? If you, I've sort of got a tagline for this whenever this comes up, and that is, if you like the fly-by-wire A320, you would love the Phoenix A320. So it's definitely worth checking out if you do like the fly-by-wire. And the transition from one to the other, you will feel right at home, just with a lot more system depth. You're not going to be out of your depth with it. Dobbo, good evening. Bit of a newbie question. When is the autopilot engaged after takeoff, generally, or is it just personal performance? Personal preference, to be honest. It's either 5 seconds after liftoff or 100 feet. They are your minimums. So don't sort of rotate and be 20 feet off the ground and pop it on. It's not going to like that. But yeah, 100 feet or 5 seconds off the ground, you can put it on. Some some pilots like to hand fly for a little bit. Some pilots bang it on as soon as they can, reduce the workload. Some airlines have a standard operating procedure to use maximum automation where and when they can safely. So there's no right or wrong answer for that. There are some airlines that will happily let pilots sort of hand fly all the way up to cruise. That sounds like hard work to me. I'm a lazy pilot. Joseph, how do you know when to descend? Is it worth buying Navigraph and GSX? Okay, I'll take number one first then. How do you know when to descend? Because the top of descent is usually shown in your flight plan. I've got a flight plan in here. I'm not sure if it's going to show it because we're not actually active and we've not got any information in there. But yeah, you would see a TOD, top of descent, on here, and it would also be shown on your navigation display on the map. So that's when you need to descend. Obviously, you can use the rule of 3, which is, I mean, that's where you basically work out how many miles it's going to take you to get down. But that's a rough estimate. So if you're at 36,000 feet, then to get down to 0 feet, do 36 multiplied by 3, and then that's how many miles out, how many miles it's going to take to get down. But that is affected by winds, headwind, tailwind, and if air traffic control are online, then obviously they're not going to let you just descend when you want. ATC in real world, of course, ATC will tell you when to get down. Of course, they can also leave you high, so meaning you can pass your top of descent as shown in your flight plan, and ATC are going to keep you at your original altitude and not let you get down for another 5 or 10 minutes, meaning you're left high and then you need to get down quick. In which case, open descent, wind the speed up, and yeah, down you go. And is it worth buying Navigraph and GSX? I have both of them. I like GSX for the pushback, and it's now working. It's a lot more stable than it was when it first came out. And Navigraph, I'd never fly without that on the VATSIM network, because yeah, you'd end up all over the place and doing daft things. When did I become interested in aviation? I honestly can't remember, but from a very, very early age. A very early age. So, originally I wanted to be an air traffic controller. Going back to when I was very young. I just thought that was a really cool job. I loved that. It was just the magic of taking all these aircraft arriving from different directions and lining them up perfectly. I used to spend hours on air traffic control simulator games years ago. Yeah, and I remember then when I was about, how old would I have been? Maybe 14 or 15, someone bought me a flying lesson, I think, and I got hooked. Yeah, got hooked on it. That feeling of I can't even describe it. But then it's not even that. It's, for me, it's very specific to commercial aviation. I have very little interest in military aviation, but the whole world of commercial aviation, and not just the aircraft, the flying, the air traffic control, even things like dispatching, aircraft dispatching. I'd love a go at that job. You are a small cog in a massive machine, and it only takes one thing to go wrong, and the whole thing is affected. There's just something quite romantic about that, I think. So, Richard, mate, welcome to Captain Level membership. That is awesome. Thanks so much for your support. Appreciate that. Doors, bit of a stupid question. There's no stupid questions. What happens if you don't turn the brake fans on and the brake temperatures and take off above them? Take off with brake temperatures higher than you should? I mean, when you take off, there's the biggest problem is if you need to reject the takeoff, because then you're going to slam the brakes on, then you've got a problem. The other problem is if you raise the landing gear, you've then got hot brakes, hydraulic lines. That's not the best combination. So yeah, don't take off with them higher than you should. Basically, your wheels don't explode. It's not the wheels, it's the brakes. That's the problem. Ian, you're confused. When you can use final approach mode on RNP and RNAV arrivals, and when you can't. Okay, so you can usually always use final approach mode on RNAV and RNP arrivals, but remember, final approach mode is not like ILS in that it's not an auto land sort of system. It's not going to take you right down to the runway. The idea with those approaches is it's to get you to a point where you can see the runway, disconnect and land manually. So there are some times when you can't use final approach mode. One of those is when the temperature is too low because it affects the barometric reading. So your aircraft will be at the wrong altitude and the aircraft won't know it's at the wrong altitude, so you have to use flight path angle for the descent. I mean, that's rare unless, you know, I think the temperature's got to be really cold. For a lot of approaches it's something daft like below minus 15 degrees, so you're talking Arctic Circle kind of territory. Addy, you don't understand the switching panel. Okay, so the switching panel is this thing just here. Now, like lots of commercial aircraft, there is a sensor but this is for various bits of data. So this is sort of this is your attitude, this is your air data reference system, and the idea is that you've got one sensor for the captain, one sensor for the first officer, and one sensor as a backup. So basically, if your air data IRS system fails on the captain's side, then you would select to use the first officers, and it will basically disregard all the information that the captain sensor has given you, because it's giving you duff, it's giving you rubbish information. In terms of which one to select or when you would select them, that is where you've got the handy eCam, because that will tell you that something's not working and to switch which one to the first officers, etc. So yeah, hopefully that just explains a little bit about it's basically a backup system, and you turn off any that give you the faulty new faulty information. Dean, can both pilots use their McDo's at the same time in different pages? Yes, they can. They're not linked together. Ferraz, do I cap my FPS? I used to. I don't anymore. I used to cap it to about 30. It's a little bit smoother than that now since I upgraded the PC a while back, so it's not capped at the moment. Levanto official, good evening. Would I mind going over inserting weight and balance from SimBrief manually and inserting alternate contingency, final reserves, etc. Okay, so you don't need to sort of insert those as such, but basically if you've got a flight plan here, then all you're looking at is the fuel there, the planned block fuel, which is now right at the top of your screen. The planned block fuel there is 5,952 kilograms, which is, you know, rounded up 6,000, so 6 tons of fuel. At which point then you'd have a look at the weather. If it's good weather, you might not want to take any more. If it's rubbish weather, you think you might be in a holding pattern, or it's really busy at the airport that you're going to, then you might want to take a little bit more, maybe half a ton more. So you'd probably take 6,500 tons, 6.5 tons of fuel. In terms of entering that, depending on the aircraft you fly, at the moment we've got 3,000 tons of fuel on board this aircraft. But what you do is then on the init page, you would enter how much fuel you're going to take just here. So if we took 6.5 tons, which is 6.5, so you'd pop that there. In terms of how much fuel, of how much of that fuel you are setting aside to fly to alternate, again you can get that off your operational flight plan. That's just here, there at the top of the screen. The alternate fuel is 1,507. You could round that up to 1,600, so you know it's better to round up than down. So you then pop that, your alternate fuel there, 1.6 tons, and then the aircraft works out sort of how much fuel you've got. I'd need to fill the rest of the information in before I could do all of that. So we'd need a cost index, cruise flight level. Just put a random flight number in there. Once we've done that, it'd need a zero fuel weight as well, which for this flight on the flight plan is 56.6. And I'll just put in a standard 30% CFG. So there we go. It's got a takeoff weight of 62.9 tons, which it believes is an extra time. We've got 20 minutes extra flying time there. We can show this works because if I put in 2 tons of fuel needed for the alternate, then the extra time reduces. We've only got 8 minutes of extra fuel on board now. Drop that back down. Now we've got 23 minutes. So you can see how they are they're all linked. Angus McTavish, mate, that is really generous. Thank you so much. Super chatting £10 there, saying just a small thank you for this and everything you continue to do to help the flight sim community. Angus, you're more than welcome, mate. And once again, thank you so much for supporting us. Great to have you. Great to have you with us tonight. And of course, we usually see you during our flying live streams as well, don't we, Angus? So that's amazing. Really generous. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. I'm going to do a flight general aviation in Microsoft Flight Sim. If I do, I'm just doing it to mess about, and I'm usually doing it with my son. To be fair, just to enjoy a bit of time with him. So I'm just trying to skip through some more questions. Richard, another question. Is there a difference between ILS approaches, X-ray or Zulu approach? Yeah, this is a great question, Richard. So a lot of the time, the differences between the Zulu, X-ray, Yankee approaches are the go-arounds. So if I have a look at, let me think. Let's go to Palma in Mallorca. If we have a look at the approaches here, I think there's a couple of different ones here. Yeah, so ILS Zulu for 06 left. Right, okay, so you'll see that platform altitude is 17,000. It's still a 3-degree approach. And the minimums are, for us, would be 274. Now if I go to the Yankee, The minimums are slightly different, look. 374. It's still a 3-degree approach. Platform altitude is still the same. But aside from the minimums being slightly different, have a look at the go-around. So this go-around has us climbing direct to the Jiao VOR, let's call it that. Left turn, and we'll just follow it around. Now, left turn, and then holding at CDP. Now, if we have a look at the Yankee approach, that one has us flying to the Mallorca VOR. So the go-arounds are... sorry, I'm talking absolute rubbish. That's the way that they're coming in, aren't they? So the Zulu here has you coming in via the Mallorca VOR, and then the go-around is via Saint-Jean-Jaune VOR, flying up to 7.5 miles away, and then holding at CDP. That's the Zulu. The Yankee, we said the minimums are different. The go-around is just much more simple. It's straight ahead, and it uses the NDB. The reason there are two approaches is because if they're doing maintenance on these VORs, then they can't use those for the go-around. So they would have to use the ILS Yankee approach. So that is the difference between those two, Zulu and Yankee. The go-around is the big difference. However, if we go to... I think Berlin is different. I'm going to Brandenburg. Oh, it might not be. There's an airport in Germany, I forget which one it is, but basically the Zulu, the Yankee, the X-ray, they all come in via different waypoints. So, yeah, there are differences. The actual approach themselves, for the sake of landing, there's usually not much difference at all, if any. Obviously, there's different minimums there, wasn't there? But it's the go-around that's usually different, or the nav aids used to fly in. Mohammed, when is Macro Simulations going to release their version 2? No idea. I'm afraid. Jazzy, back to Toga and Flex. No, you need to pop that in. It's not auto-populated, so you have to do that. Steph, good evening, Steph. Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, my bread and butter. Ever been tempted in my spare time to fly an X-Plane DCS? No, to be honest. I did have a look at X-Plane 12 when it came out originally, but no. I like the pretty Microsoft Flight Simulator combined with the Phoenix aircraft. Organ Aviator, I've never tried Chart Fox. No. Hey Mona and Sadlana, does the weather radar work in the Phoenix? No, that is because of the limitations of the simulator, not the Phoenix itself, sadly. Scroll through. Engando, what's the deal with the transitions in America? You don't get them. Is there a difference to doing a star via a certain waypoint? Yeah, so Ingando, what you will find with the American stars and things is that if we have a look at this flight plan, for example, what you would get, that's our flight plan that I've got loaded in here. I'd be departing on the Gozam 1 Delta departure. In America, the transition would be the next waypoint, which is not Gozam because that's part of the star. Sorry, the SID. It would be in this case Fennec. So Fennec would actually be the transition. Just the same as keypad would be the transition for the arrival on the Dissit arrival there. Not the best example because this is obviously an approach in the UK. But yeah, the transitions are basically just the waypoint that you go to after the main part of the standard instrument departure. Saldanema, you're having a problem where the Phoenix is invisible. That is because you've got a livery that is no longer compatible, I'm afraid, with the simulator. So you'll have to update your livery for that. Damn it, you also thought that switching the air data to First Officers 3 or Captain 3 meant the corresponding displays then use the backup ideas. Yeah, so yeah, again, it's just you've got 1, 3 and 2. 1 is the captains, 3 is the First Officers, and 2 is standby. Andy Bear, good evening to you. Hope you are doing well. Relium, if climbing or descending to the same height as the transition altitude, is that reported in feet or flight level? So if you are, let's say we were departing here in Edinburgh, and I think the transition altitude, I think, is 5,000 feet, then you would climb up to 5,000 feet, not flight level 50, so you'd be on standard pressure. ATC will then tell you to climb flight level 70, at which point you're then transitioning over to using standard pressure. Addo, what is the crank mode for the engines? That's usually for the engineers. Usually crank mode is to clear out any rubbish and gubbings and oil and stuff that's got stuck in there after a hung engine start. I think it works in the Phoenix. Never tried it. Andy, disconnecting the autopilot in the Phoenix. Always a master caution popping up in the Phoenix. Is it your mistake? Right, Andy, what you need to do is, I'll just go to my control options, whatever button you are using to disconnect the to disconnect your autopilot, you need to set it to not that. Hang on, try again. Yeah, you'll have got yours set to autopilot toggle. You need to set it to autopilot off, then you won't get that master caution. Ian, how do you work out the landing weight so you can put this in the performance calculator? This is a great question, and it probably it bugs me this that the that the aircraft doesn't show it you. But basically, what you need to do is take your zero fuel weight, because that's basically the weight of your that's the weight of your passengers, your luggage, cargo, and everything. Your zero fuel weight there, and add in what your estimated fuel on board will be at the time of your land, when you land. So it's the fuel you're going to land with. So there, at Gatwick here, for this example, we're going to be landing with 3.5 tons, and our zero fuel weight is 56.6. So it's basically 56.6 plus 3.5. That is your estimated landing weight, and you can be conservative and maybe just add a couple of 100 kilograms on top of that. But yeah, it would be nice if the aircraft showed the estimated landing weight. But no, you have to work that out. You have to do a little bit of maths, I'm afraid. So, does a Boeing aircraft give it you, or do you have to work it out on a Boeing aircraft? Katie Pilot, correct us here. Right, okay, so just going back to the ideas. So 3 is standby, 1's captain, 2's the FOs. So if you use the switching panel for FO3, it will be supplying the FO side by the backup probe. Thank you, Katie. What am I getting confused with? Oh, I know what I'm getting confused with. I'm getting confused with these. It's getting dark in here, hang on. Yeah, that's what I'm getting confused with. IR1 is the captain's. Then IR2 is there, IR3 is there. Yeah, so it is. It's 1, 2, 3, not 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Senior moment. Doors, which is better, PACX or self-loading cargo? I don't use either now. I fly the Phoenix aircraft. Always liked self-loading cargo though. That was quite neat. Andy, mate, thank you so much for your 20 Swiss francs super chat. Hopefully we've answered your question as well, Andy, and you know where we are if you've got any follow-up questions. Thank you for that, Andy. I really do appreciate that. Richard, just to further the Atlas approaches, can you select whichever one you want and always choose Zulu? I would normally choose Zulu at the start of an approach and then just go through and make sure that there's nothing daft, like it's using the wrong waypoint to come in on. But yeah, normally, if you choose Zulu, 90% of the time that's going to be the right one. Can you transfer Microsoft Flight Simulator and the Phoenix from one PC to another without having to pay extra? Only if you deregister it from the previous PC. But Microsoft Flight Simulator has still got to be registered to your account. Yeah. Doors Player is something you've wanted to ask for ages and can't do. American flights without this information, so can you show me where the US version of the QA&H is in a Simbury flight plan or in the ATIS? So you don't get the QA&H in a flight plan. You get it on your ATIS, which is or the METAR, which if I just had a quick look there. Yeah, so QA&H is where it says Q1007. For an American METAR, it would say A for altimeter, and it would be A2992 or something like that. So yeah, here in Europe it's a Q for QA&H. In America it's the A for altimeter. Ah, Christian, good evening. Hope you're doing well. Katie Pilot would be helpful if they called 3 just back up. French rubbish. There are some, you know, when you're going through the manuals and things and you read some of the wordings, you think, surely someone could have translated that better to actually make sense. Mads, my top 5 sceneries in Europe. Oh. I don't know if I can, Mads. I just like everything. I'm a scenery tart. I have them all. Kenroy, do I know why my jetway glitches into my Phoenix aircraft? You have GSX? Yeah, that is just a GSX and a scenery thing. It's nothing to do with you or your aircraft. In fact, there are some default airports in America where the jetway connects on the right-hand side, which is very freaky. I've never known that happen in real life. YTP, you tried to land at Gatwick, and when you did a go-around, the turn was not that accurate. Do you know why that is? Not without seeing it. Landing at Gatwick, usually your turn is to go south, if memory serves, if you're on runway 26. Katie, yeah, you have to read it a few times and then have a drink and read it again. It takes ages to come in. Dorsplay, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. A1, the Edinburgh scenery is sad. I can tell you're younger than me because I'd never describe something good as being sick. I hear the word sick in my house and I panic because it means there's a bug going around all the children. And I've got some cleaning up to do. But Perugia are actually updating this scenery as well. There's version 2 coming out at some point in the future. So yeah. Kenroy, you bought Microsoft Flight Simulator on Steam. When you buy 24, will you be able to transfer your stuff and log in? Ooh, I don't actually know. I don't actually know about that. I would suggest maybe buying them through the same medium, if possible. But I'm not sure. Any stuff that you've bought not through Steam, so add-ons via the marketplace or through third-party websites, etc., they should transfer. They should be fine. But Steam-specific stuff, I'm not sure about. Mads, have I checked out the Sim Nord or any of the Danish airports Microsoft Flight Simulator? Aside from Oslo, no. So I'm really bad at flying at that part of the world. But I do like it. Christian, should be the same Microsoft account, so it should be okay. Oh, fair enough, Christian. I mean, I don't use Steam, so I'm unable to answer that, I'm afraid. Organ Aviator, that is really kind. Thank you so much for your $4.99 super chat, saying thanks for the Q&A and considering my idea message about finishing exams the 14th of June, so won't happen before then. Yeah, I did look at that. I think that's a goer. For some reason, I was thinking that you wanted to fly to Europe. I thought I can't do Falklands to Europe. I haven't got 9 hours to spare. So, but yes, no, we might be able to make that happen. But once again, thank you so much, Organ. Hope you've enjoyed the evening and not working too hard. I know you're working really hard at school at the moment. At our best long haul aircraft currently right now, I'd say the Headwind A330 or the Airbus A300. Okay. Right, well, I'm sort of getting to the end of the time I've got for this. So, I did, before we started, I've got FSI panel up and running. So I thought I could perhaps do I could perhaps try and do a sort of a landing. A lot of people always like to see crosswind landings, you know, full-on rubbish weather crosswind landing, and watch me get blown off the runway, which is always good fun in the simulator. So if anyone's got any suggestions of what they'd like me to try and do, as long as I can set it up with FSI panel quickly, then we'll have a go. So just anything you want to see me attempt to do. I can't promise to do it right. Anything you want me to see me attempt to do before we go, then shove an idea in the chat and we'll have a go. Organ says Vega. Mads, can I show the approach into Madeira? Oh yes, I like Madeira. It's very good. I'm going to have to get charts for that. Do you know what though, Mads? Madeira is not actually that difficult, particularly now that we've got the RNP AR approach. So that's pretty. Although Kickoff's also said Madeira. Do you want to see if I can get a setup for a Madeira landing? I don't know what the weather's doing there. Hang on. That's wrong. What is it? LPMA, isn't it? Okay, they're pretty nice. A crosswind landing in Madeira. should we try that? So we want runway 05. What star would we need for this? I'm going to have to get some charts up. 1 second. So I am going to do the we are going to do the Zulu RNP approach, which comes in via Pilim. And if we have a look at the Raccoon arrival, is it the Raccoon 1 popper? Yeah, it is. Now, before I do this, I actually need to start my aircraft up, otherwise this won't work. Madeira with a 25 knot crosswind. Okay, so let me just come off VATSIM. I'm going to set up some custom weather for us then. So turn that off. We'll have just a few clouds. Not too much. Winds. There is a limitation at Madeira, of course. So let's do that. And I wish they did this not in meters per second, but in something sensible. Like knots, you know, that'd be good. Wind from 28. Okay, so that should be tasty. .24 gusting. I think the maximum gust we can actually do is 25. Let me just double check. Oh no, 30 knots. Right, there we go. That is right on the cusp. Then we can do that. That's going to work. We can do a 30 knot gust there, as long as the wind's coming from that angle. If it was coming from a more northerly direction, it's limited to 25. Okay, so that's the weather sorted. Now I just need to start my aircraft. I will load the aircraft as well. Make it somewhat realistic. Right, aircraft's loaded. Activate it. Ancient, the limitations absolutely do count at night. Of course they do. Right, so I think the aircraft's up and running. Oh my word, the trees are swaying in the wind. Let's put some daylight in. There we go. Okay, so hopefully this is going to work. So I want to be at Pilim. And what altitude do I want to be at for this? Just checking the charts. At 3,000 feet. That's all 3,000 feet. And okay. Right, let's see if it works. So FSI panel now doing its thing. If you've never tried FSI panel, then it's a great training tool. Holy moly, what did I set these winds to? This does not look like fun. I'm not going to be landing with 100 knot 100 knot crosswind. Seriously, what did I set the winds to? Let's just slow these down a little bit. Although actually, this give it up here. That's right. All right, we'll leave it at that. Paddling on the ground, it is 2.2 gusting 2.6. Fine. Now, one thing that FSI panel won't do is set up this approach in the box. So I just need to do this. So now just go to flight plan, arrival. It's the RMP Zulu. That's the one. There it is. And insert. Go direct to Pillim. There we are. Oh, we've not done any briefing on this at all. So, quickly checking the charts. What we're doing. 2,000 feet at 526. 522 is where we go down. We're going to fly a stabilized approach. Okay. Godspeed. And good luck. Have we got any speed constraints on here as well? Right, 2,000 feet. Let's pull that. Let's get down. Thrust idle. Over descent. What does she want? You can go away.
The cabin is now secure for landing.
Oh, good. It needs to be. Right, slow my aircraft down. Not bother with the destination data. Flaps 1. Speed 180. We're not slowing down because of that wind. I'm going to have to drop that wind a little bit. It's yeah, it's not liking it. Throw the gear out, see if that helps. Most unstabilized approach ever into Madeira, this, by the way. That's flaps 3. Final blue, approach nav. We probably needed to start slowing down from further out because of the wind that I've got set for this. Right, manage the speed, fly the AR approach, and good luck. Kevin, can we attempt it in alternate law? No. If I was in alternate law, chances are I probably wouldn't be flying here. We're just drifting across the Atlantic now with this wind. Steve says he wants to get off. Oh, Katie, you prefer seeing the world, don't you? It's not a proper trip unless you've had a nice drink and coffee out somewhere. Right, down we go. Flaps full.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
Shut up.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
Should probably have all the lights on actually. Turn that off. I do know you all secretly want me to just slam this into the slam this into the side of the island. So now ground speed mini is really going to start picking up speed because of that headwind. Kickoff, am I using active sky? No, I'm not. No. Alright, my aircraft. If anyone's going to crash this, it's going to be me. Two whites, two reds. I mean, that's a good start. Feel like I'm power sliding around the corner. Anyone used to do that when they played Mario Kart? This is going to be a landing like that. Was it a TAP Air Portugal that slammed it into Madeira the other week?
500.
Really having to force this thing down. Come on, touchdown.
20. Retard. 10. 5.
Just in the touchdown zone. Oh, reverses off and manual brakes. Yeah, I was looking at that, Dark. It wasn't a perfect crosswind, that was more of a headwind, wasn't it? I'm not doing it again. I think I got quite lucky there with that. But hopefully that was an entertaining way to end our stream, guys. Well, hope you have enjoyed our sort of just chilled out, relaxed Q&A session this evening. I did actually record that, so we can play that back. So whatever you're doing for the rest of the day, then, guys, I hope you have a good one. If you have enjoyed this, let me know, because there are times when I can perhaps squeeze one of these sort of little relaxed Q&A chatting streams in rather than a full sort of flight thing. So if you have enjoyed it, let me know, and we'll try and do it again a little bit more often. So yeah, a huge shout out and thanks as well to those of you who have donated, contributed, etc. tonight, super chatted, gifted memberships. Really kind of you guys. Thank you so much for your support, not just tonight but continuously. And also, of course, our EasyJet Student Pilot channel members. You're all absolutely awesome. Love chatting with you guys and reading stuff on the Discord server. Even if I'm not usually chatting in there, I am reading it daily and usually laughing at the same time with some of the stuff that's going on in there. So thank you so much for that. yeah, our next live stream, of course, I will post details on Discord, and I shall see you all again very soon. But yeah, I'll definitely leave you with that replay as we came into land. So yeah, thanks so much, guys. I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye bye.